Good afternoon, everybody. It is great to have you here. Apologies if you hopped onto the last link. We're having a few technical issues, but now we are definitely back with you. And whether you're watching us live or you're watching us back, you are very welcome. Robson, we are back. We're back
I know.
on you.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's perfect. So good to be back.
So good. Yes, so today we are going to talk a little bit about creative journaling. So we thought in the kind of the course of our work in lots of different areas, we're always talking about journaling, aren't we, Robson? And we just thought, do you know what? Let's actually just do a YouTube on this. So even if writing is not your thing, today we're going to be talking about lots and lots of different ways that you can journal. And we will be sort of explaining a little bit more about that as we go on. So I'm just going to move us on just to talk about who we are. So myself and Robson, we work for an organisation called Youthscape. Just to tell you a bit about myself, my name is Laura and I head up an online project called Headstrong. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok, and we're really just a positive place online where you can come and explore what it looks like to be sort of mentally well and to get loads and loads of practical tips and strategies around looking after your mental health. So Headstrong is one of the projects that falls under the larger organisational name of Youthscape. And I'm going to pass you over to Robson to hear a little bit more about the work that he does.
Hello. So yes, I'm Robson, and I'm also work alongside Laura, just helping out at Headstrong. But the main thing I do, the main side that I work in, is Illumina, which is a project that sits under Headstrong and Youthscape, and we explicitly work around struggles with self-harm and helping people think about journey towards recovery from that, whatever that looks like for them. And like Laura said, that often means talking about being creative, expressing our emotions, and thinking about journaling sometimes. So yes, it's great to have you all here, and it's great to be here.
Definitely. And as we go through, I'll be putting up the links. So if you want to find out more about Illumina and you want to find out more about Headstrong, we'll be putting up the social tags and the website addresses and things like that as well. So just bear with us. And as we kind of go through, these things will be popping up on the screen. So why are we here talking about journaling? And as I said, this is something that we tend to talk about an awful lot in our work. But actually, why is it so helpful? Well, I don't know if you've ever tried to journal before. I don't know if it's something that you've tried and maybe you've decided, no, this is not for me. I have no idea what to say. I don't know where to start. But actually, if you can find some kind of method of journaling, it can be a really great way of kind of helping us release how we're feeling. So maybe we've had a really rough day. Maybe we've got lots and lots of kind of emotions stored up in us. It gives us a really good place to just sort of pour all those kind of things that are going on in our heads and actually just be able to pour them out onto paper in some way. And just gives us that feeling of release. So it can be so, so good for us in lots and lots of different ways. But actually being able to get our thoughts out on paper, whether that is through kind of some sort of art medium or whether that's through words, can really help us by kind of giving us that space to reflect. So actually there might be things that we're struggling with that we've not even really realized before, but by looking back over what we've produced, it can just give us that space to think about what's going on there and maybe some of the things that kind of the journaling process brought up. So it can be really helpful for that too. And also, if it's something that you do kind of regularly, so Robson, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but actually they say when you're journaling, if you can do a little bit every day, it's really, really helpful, isn't it? Even if you can do it a few times a week, it means that actually you can look back to kind of what was going on this time last week and see sort of how your mood has changed over that period of time. So maybe last week there were things that you were really struggling with that actually you've been able to sort of resolve. And over the course of the week, things have really changed for you and you can track your kind of progress in that. And so that can be really helpful as well. Or you can look back and sort of identify the things that maybe created some sort of struggle for you. And maybe they're your triggers of things that make you feel really bad about yourself or your day. And then you can start thinking about ways that you can kind of help reduce those triggers really and put things in place that kind of make it a more kind of positive experience for you. So journaling is it's a great thing to do. I'm a massive fan of journaling, as you'll probably gather, because I could talk about it for 45 minutes, which is exactly what we are going to be doing today. But Robson, tell us something else about journaling.
So yeah, one thing, just to give you a bit more of the psychological insight into why it might be useful and how it can be helpful for us. One thing to know is that this professor, they found that by putting our feelings into words, by being able to maybe name things like sadness, anger, maybe express why we feel pain inside, that it can actually begin to make some of those feelings a bit less intense. And they say that phrase like naming it to tame it. And so when we're journaling, as Laura said, we're maybe expressing what's going on. We're maybe writing down or tracking our mood. And part of that will be beginning to help us reduce some of that intensity, reduce some of those feelings sometimes. And we'll come back to that idea of naming it to tame it with some of the ideas today. But yeah, this just gives us an idea of what's going on a bit behind the scenes.
It's amazing, isn't it? I love that whole kind of naming and taming, that actually once we recognize an emotion and we can put a kind of a word to that emotion, that actually whether we write it or we speak it or we share it in any way, that can actually make us feel better, which I just think is phenomenal. So if we can access that at all in anything that we can put in place, then that's really going to help us. So I think we should just dig in. We've got 14 different ways, which sounds a lot, but don't worry, that we're going to run through this fairly fast. But we've got 14 ways that you can try journaling. So maybe with this live stream over the Easter break, you actually take maybe, a couple of them at a time, and you watch a little bit and maybe you try them and see how you get on. And then you come back and you dip in and out like that. Because a lot of us have got 2 weeks off now, haven't we? Where it gives us a bit more space in our day that we can have a go at these sorts of things. So maybe this is something for you over Easter, which is why we kind of wanted to do this right now. So we are looking at 14 ways to journal. And to start us off, we are going to be looking at doodling. Now, I don't know if any of you are big sort of doodlers out there, but I absolutely love doodling, and I love being able to doodle in a kind of journaling kind of way. So ultimately, doodling is just having a blank piece of paper in front of you and a pen, and it's just the process of letting your mind wander just wherever it wants to go, and you're just drawing the things that you're thinking about. So one way I really like to do this is to kind of doodle my way through my day. So I've done a little example here. We've got quite a few examples going through this. So this is sort of, I don't know if you can see this. This is a doodle through my day the other day. And it's really just tracking my journey from waking up to what I was doing to then we had a power cut, and that was kind of quite annoying because I was trying to work, through to drinking coffee, lots and lots of coffee. And there was and it's just that process of being able to doodle through your day. And actually think about maybe the places you've been and the people that you've met, some of the conversations you've had, or some of the ways that that's made you feel as well. And I love doodling because it can just go anywhere and it can look like anything. Now, something that we're going to come back to probably a few times on this with all our different methods of journaling is actually journaling is something that is so personal to you. And I think that's a really big thing, isn't it? It does not have to look perfect. And for people that, I'm really bad at this, so I'm talking to myself as well, who like things to look kind of a certain way. The temptation for me is that I want to go back and I want to edit and I want to remove things and make it look really pretty or make it sound really, really good. But actually, this whole process of journaling, it's kind of this quite organic process where it just comes out of you, and whatever is there is actually, it's what needs to be there, really. So don't go back and change things. Don't feel like you need to edit things. And doodling, say this is one way of doing this. And Robson, I'm going to pass over to you for number 2.
And I love these first two because we kicked it off straight away without talking about writing and words, which for me was such a barrier for getting into journaling because I didn't know how to start it. I didn't know where to go when I was trying to write about my day. So this second idea is capture. And instead of maybe doodling and drawing through our day, it's about thinking back on what's gone on throughout our time, throughout our day, throughout whatever experience we've gone through that we want to journal about, and capturing whatever things maybe stand out or whatever things we want to hold on to. So throughout the day, we go through a lot. We see a lot, we probably experience a lot of different things, and some of it might be big and some of it might be really tiny things. And so when we get to the end of the day, we've probably forgotten a lot of it, and we've probably got a big jumble of emotions and thoughts to go through. And so this idea is about trying to capture some of the little things we want to hold on to from our days. And we could do that by taking mental photos, becoming aware and just reminding ourselves, do you remember how nice it looked this morning when I went out for my walk? And thinking back on that. It could be through taking real photos and actually taking photos of what we've made for food or what we've made creatively. It could be about capturing conversations and just remembering that way we felt when we interacted with a friend or someone else. And it's about thinking about all those different ways we can hold on to these things and then reflecting them back into our journal. So it could be trying to draw that. It could be writing quickly just about those things we've captured in our mind. Or it could be actually getting these photos or photos from elsewhere that represent it and sticking them into our journal. So you can see here we've got the kind of the photo from maybe a magazine about how the blueberries were amazing at lunch, and we've stuck that in as a reminder of that moment. Or we've got that photo that we've taken of the sky that day because it reminded us of how warm and how nice it felt in that moment. And so this is, again, a different way to kind of add pictures of our day into the journal without us maybe drawing them if we didn't want to feel confident enough to do that. Yeah,
I love that. And it's even like just it kind of printing some of the pictures off your phone as well, and just being able to kind of just record little kind of snapshots of your day, isn't it? So brilliant. I absolutely love that. The next one we're going to look at is about getting colourful. Now, I don't know about you, but I just love getting the paints out. So any excuse to really make a mess is fantastic. But using colours as a way of journaling can be really, really helpful, because sometimes we might not have the words for how we're feeling. We might not be able to actually explain, the kind of the turmoil that might be going on inside us or the emotions that maybe we're wrestling with. But quite often we can kind of link them to different colours. So actually maybe feelings like maybe you feel quite low today, or you just feel, just a bit down. So maybe you're thinking about blues and purples, greys, those sorts of colours. Or maybe you feel really energized today. The sun is out. I hope the sun is out where you are. I'm absolutely loving the sunshine today. It's stopped raining. Hurrah. But maybe you feel really energized. And then, you're thinking about colours like your yellows, your oranges, your reds, those kind of energy, those warm colours. And you can use these to kind of record your emotions over the course of a day, or maybe just to capture some kind of way that you're feeling. So here I've literally just taken blues. So I've done this as a kind of like collage. So just went through a magazine, pulled out everything that was blue, and it just kind of caught that feeling of just feeling a little bit low or a little bit quiet. And it doesn't have to say anything, but actually those colors kind of capture some of that emotion. Or you can really look at kind of something kind of slightly different. And again, you don't have to be really arty to do this. Your journal is just for you. It's not going to be graded. It's not for anyone else to really see unless you choose to show them and you choose to share them. But this was something I did the other day. So it's kind of just tracking the course of a day where I woke up and I felt very kind of, it was really cold the other morning. And I felt quite like just not very energized. I didn't really want to get out of bed. And my morning just felt like that. But as I went through my day and I interacted with different people, I just felt a lot more kind of, I don't know, fueled, like I was just turning into myself a little bit more and I was kind of coming out of my shell. So I used these warm colors to kind of capture that. So there's loads of different ways that you can use color to kind of express emotion. And, as I said, it's just a great excuse for getting the paints out. And I just splattered paint everywhere, which was very fun.
Love it. Yes. Brilliant. And following on from that similar kind of idea, we've got this brilliant color wheel that's vibrant with colors of our emotions. And what we're saying here is, going back to that idea that came from that name it to tame it from that psychologist, we're saying maybe instead we actually use something like this, like a feelings wheel, which you can find all over online, to actually name some of our emotions. And you could use this as the basis for the last tip as well, where you can use the colors here to decide what colors you're going to get colorful with. But we're saying maybe we can name some of our emotions as well by circling them on a feelings wheel, if we've printed it out or if we've tried to make our own copy in our journal, or maybe by just writing it down or writing it down in the colors that it's in here and just using it to really explore some of the deeper emotions we might feel. because we might be able to recognize that we feel sad or that we feel happy, but we might not actually realize what's behind that or where it comes from or what the deeper feeling is there. And this wheel can be a great way to do that because it's given you tons of other emotions to begin to identify with. And so it can be really helpful as a starting point for some of these other tips, or just as a really quick way that we use our journal to check in with ourselves throughout the day or throughout the week. Yeah, Laura, can you name any of them off this wheel today?
Oh, I love doing these. Gosh, I don't know. I've had quite an exhausting morning. So yeah, busy is probably there.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, there's so many, isn't there? I love it. Motivated. I have been quite motivated today. Yeah, I was doing lots of activities this morning, so that was really good. But I think what I love about these is that so often you actually, through the course of a day, you have so many different emotions, and it can be really hard to actually kind of just name them off the top of your head. But this gives you the actual words to identify, doesn't it? And to actually be able to circle them, I think is really great as well. You can literally, if you just put into Google, probably emotions wheel. The actual name is a spectrometer, but emotions wheel will get you to the same place. And actually just see what you can find, maybe print a couple off so that you've just got them, or just take a screenshot of the screen at the moment and use that as something you can sort of be able to kind of edit on your phone or something like that. So, and that you can save that. But yeah, I just love the look of these as well. I think they're great. And it reminds me of, like, Robson, what you were saying about that kind of professor as well. That whole process of being able to name the emotion that you're feeling can really help you feel so much more in control over that emotion as well. So I think, yeah, having the words that are here could be really, really helpful.
Absolutely.
Amazing. We're zooming through these, but that's great because we've got quite a few of them left to talk about. I hope you're all still with us. I hope you're enjoying this. And the next one we're going to be thinking about is this whole idea of paying attention. So music is incredibly powerful. I absolutely love music. And this next point is a really kind of a big thing for me. And I know this is something that I do pretty much every single day. So actually, by paying attention to your moods and actually working out kind of how you feel, what's really, really helpful is to then have playlists that really reflect those moods, or you've got playlists that can pull you out of those moods. So one way of doing this is actually maybe on Spotify or something similar to that, is just to create a series of playlists. So I've got some around sort of feeling relaxed, that if I'm really feeling stressed or my anxiety is high, that I can put them on and it just really brings me back down again. There's loads of different ways that you can do this. And if you even just type in kind of relaxing songs, there are so many playlists that are already on there that you can kind of pick and choose and start, like, you know, pulling together something that's a bit more personalized to you. But I've got them for all different emotions. So if I'm really annoyed about something, I've got one that can kind of just help me to vent, which I sometimes use if I'm running and I'm feeling really like annoyed or frustrated about something. Then others that maybe are just literally positive, kind of good vibe sort of playlists that just pick me up and just make me feel like, you know, like I always want to go out and I want to do something kind of happy. So it's a really good idea if you like music to use that as well as a kind of tool to kind of reflect on how you feel, or to help kind of change how you feel as well. So yeah, I absolutely love this. And it's, you know, it's a labor of love, but once you've put the work in, you can go back and appreciate your masterpiece of your playlist as you go back. So yeah, you might want to give this one a go, but it's something I love. And there's, yeah, lots and lots out there already that you can use. So yeah, so that is playlists.
All right, so now we've got to talking a bit more about collages, and I absolutely love this collage that's on the screen right now. But I just love collaging. I think they can be a great way to just get really in touch with our feelings in a very different way, because we're just ripping the paper up, we're taking things from different places and just piecing it together into whatever it is that kind of expresses how we feel. And there's different ways to do this. So I've got a couple of examples. So we could do it where we just, So we could do it where we just begin to express how we feel. And so on this, I've written one or two words of how I feel. I've used, going back to what Laura said, I've used certain colors that maybe help me express how I feel. I've just kind of ripped up paper and added them to the paper until I decided that it felt right. And the day that I did this, it was absolutely pouring it down, and it was just not nice weather outside, and everything felt tired. And so everything was just that kind of getting through the day, just trying as best as we could. So that's what that one did. So that's one way we could collage and begin to express how we feel. Another way could be by doing something called blackout poetry and using words or books or newspapers in our collaging as well. So we've got something here where what we've done is I've begun to pile up different collage on top of just a page of an old book. And it was just a book that I got in a charity shop, and it was nice and easy to just find a nice page that I liked. And from there, I've begun to color out words until it kind of summed up how I felt. So I've deleted words that didn't make sense in there, and I've made my own sentences out of the words that were left over. And it was a great way for me to just reflect on how I was feeling, because I only had 30 or so words to choose from. So it gave me that challenge to reflect on how I felt. And I always say with poetry like this, it's really easy because the words are already on the page. So we don't have to add any more words. We just have to figure out what to do with what's there. And this can be a great other way to begin to collage and try and express how we feel without just using pictures, if that's what we prefer. Yeah.
I love it. I love the fact that you can collage with anything as well. So it's really just anything that's around, whether that's kind of, say, bits of kind of sheet music or bits of newspaper or just anything really. Like there's so many different ways that you can collage to kind of capture different parts of your day, different things that have been going on. So I absolutely love it. I love kind of recording like bits of post and stuff that you get through as well, like envelopes and stamps and stuff like that. There's just loads of stuff you can throw in there. But I love it. And I love that blackout poetry idea as well, because again, it's not like you're having to write the words. The words are there. You're just editing it down, aren't you, into something that kind of says something about how you're feeling right now. So,
well, and it doesn't even have to be perfect, because it's just the words that are there on the page. So it's even easier way to start start doing poetry if you're not sure where to go.
Definitely. You can tell that me and Robson have had a good time preparing for this as well, because we've actually been able to like make collages and get the paints out and do all these different things. So it's been really fun to kind of be able to, you know, make some examples as well, because it reminds us why this is a good process and how it works. So we're going to talk a little bit about if you want to try writing. Now, writing can feel really daunting. There is nothing I find more daunting than an empty page sometimes. Just that clean white page and just thinking, I have no idea where I start with this. And sometimes you just need to be able to give yourself permission to just write, to just go. And it's going back to the point of it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't even need to like be grammatically correct in any way. But a really good way to start doing this is through a process called free writing. So one way you can do this is to get your piece of paper and to get a pen and to set a timer. So maybe just set the timer on your phone for like 10 minutes and then just press go, and you just use that 10 minutes to just write down whatever comes into your mind. And I found that the various times that I've had a go at doing this, I've been sat there thinking, I don't have a clue what I'm actually going to write about. But just by kind of allowing myself that permission that I can write anything at all has been a really interesting process. So I challenge you to kind of give it a go, because I think it can be really interesting to like reflect back and go, I have no idea where that came from. I did not see that coming. You know, and sometimes my mind is a weirdly wonderful place. So very odd things come out. So, you know, you just never know. But I just find that it's a good way to kind of to get started. So I've just spotted in the comments that we've got some avid collage enthusiasts, I think we'll say. Yes, and so Destiny says that collages are favorite way, and Gillian said I've never collaged, but it sounds helpful. I just think give it a go. I just find it a really, really helpful process. But yeah, so that is free writing. So Robson, what are you going to tell us about next?
Yeah, so we've given you loads of tips and maybe some challenges to take away to try on a page of your journal. And this one is one of those. It's like a real challenge to try and take away. And I felt like this was important because so much of our journaling, we're reflecting on ourselves and our own experience and our day. And we're thinking really insular about us and what's going on. And we can forget then actually that we exist in a wider space. We exist with other people around us. doing other things and interacting with us in many ways. And so this challenge for our journal is to think about and list some of the people or some of the things that we're thankful for in our days or in our lives. So we could do it as a weekly catch-up where we just list some of the people or the things that made us thankful or made us happy that week instead. And it begins to lift us away from that just moment of expressing our emotion, but to actually realize that there's kind of that safety net of people around us that can help us when we're in those moments, or that there's actually other moments that we forgot about or that just didn't come up as we journaled the first time that are actually really positive and that we can hold on to and go back to as well. And so this gives us the idea to remember who's in our lives and remember to reach out to them as well. Remember that maybe we could express that thanks to them because we've kind of wrote them down in this space and we want to celebrate that we felt like they deserve to be on that list. And so this is a different challenge, but I think just as powerful and important way to journal and just think about what's gone on and who it is in our lives that care about us.
Yeah, and I think as well, it can be like the smallest things as well. It doesn't even have to be these kind of this maybe one person that you're really thankful for. It can be the little things in your day. So I was talking to a group online the other day that actually something I'm really thankful for at the moment is the blossom tree outside my window has come out, and it looks awesome. And whenever I look out of my window, it just makes me just gives me a little boost of happiness. So, it reminds me that actually I'm really thankful for spring. I'm thankful for the changing of the seasons, all those different things. And so it can be the tiny little things as well. If you're looking for a little bit of inspiration on this as well, I would Google gratitude lists, because there'd be loads on that as well that you'll be able to find online, and it might just kind of give you a few thoughts around some of the things that other people have put as well. So yeah, have a go at this one and see how you get on. I'm now going to talk to you a little bit about self-care. So we've called it Self-Care Saturday, but it could be a Self-Care Sunday. Could be a self-care Thursday, but it doesn't sound as catchy. So the idea is that maybe for one day a week, you kind of prepare a little bit of self-care kind of preparation for that day. So it's the process of writing a list before you get to that point and thinking of some really, really positive things that you can do to make yourself feel better on that one specific day. Now, what this looks like is going to look different for everybody. And I know that self-care has got a bit of a kind of a bad rap, really, isn't it? Because everyone's like, oh, everyone's always talking about self-care, go and run a bath. But actually, self-care can be a variety of different things. It could be that, do you know what? On your self-care day, whether it's a self-care Saturday, that day you actually you pick up all the floor wardrobe, like all your clothes that are just like slung about on the floor. And you kind of create a little bit more of space in maybe your bedroom. You sort out one of your drawers, just that sense of like achievement as well. And order can make us feel kind of good. It can make us feel a bit more in control. Or, you actually put time in that you plan to watch a film or just to hang out with friends that always makes you feel good about yourself, or listen to some music or do something. And it might be that actually it is having a bath. It's making the effort to kind of prepare for that and to kind of pamper yourself a little bit. But self-care is so much more than just kind of bubbles. It's about putting things in place that can make you feel really good. So yeah, it's just lots and lots of different things you can do around this. But it's good to think about these things and think about what we can put in place that makes us feel a bit loved and a bit kind of comforted and nurtured as well, because so often, like particularly for those of you coming up to exams, our self-care can be the thing that kind of drops to the bottom of our to-do lists. But it's important that we kind of look after ourselves as well. And by kind of having that space in our week as well, that can give us a bit of reflective space where we can just think about how the week's been and think about some of the stuff that's gone on. So in that way, it can actually be a kind of form of journaling as well, because it just gives us that headspace that we need. So yeah, so maybe this Saturday will be Self-Care Saturday.
And maybe actually this is one of the first times you've thought about self-care. So part of your journaling this week could also be writing a list to prepare for that day, writing a list of ideas, brainstorming what it could be that works for you on that day. And so there's the other challenge on the other side, if you've not even considered it before. But the next tip, the next idea is to affirm ourselves. So we've talked about expressing our emotions and exploring them and reflecting on them, whether they're positive, whether they're negative. But we also want to maybe sometimes use our journal to lift ourselves up and remind ourselves of things that are going well, or remind ourselves that no matter how we do feel, no matter what it is that is going on, that we have worth and that we should be cared for. And that's part of the self-care as well. So this idea is to maybe begin to write yourself some positive affirmations in your journal. And that could be just writing things down that affirm you, maybe things that other people have said, and keeping a note of that when they do. I always like to keep my little notes whenever anyone's given me like a positive note or like an uplifting message. I like to keep that in a little just diary, and it just is something to go back to if I ever need to lift myself up. But it could also be that we create postcards or we create little messages to ourselves that are kind of affirming. So I've got some here, and some of them can be from other places where we have things like "You're so rad," or beautiful little quotes and messages, just like on really nice pictures. Or sometimes you can come across quite funny postcards. This one's positivity. So we can do it where we capture postcards from other places. But I've also got two here where we can maybe make the postcards ourselves. So we've taken a quote, we've taken a message, and we've just kind of doodled around it or added it to a beautiful little image just to help us feel affirmed. And we can stick these wherever we need them or carry them around with us as another way to kind of journal and become creative with some of this.
Yeah. Definitely. I think it's a good reminder in there as well that actually it's really helpful for other people if we send them, when we see these postcards and things, if we kind of pick them up as we kind of move along life and pass them on to other people so that they can save them as affirmations as well. So like whenever I go into like Paperchase or somewhere like that, like I always pick up they're like so cheap, they're little postcards. And so that I've got them that I can pass them on to people if they just need a bit of encouragement or a bit of a lift and things like that. Or just I send them through the post and they'll just get a little laugh, you know, just for whatever. But actually it's a really nice thing to do to other people as well, isn't it? So yeah. And normally when I speak to Robson, he's got a big display of like affirmations behind him. So yeah, you have them, you just stick them up, don't you, on the inside of one of your doors?
Yeah, we just keep the postcards that sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're pretty, but a lot of just affirmation postcards that are just great little quotes or reminders just stuck up on the wall, on the door behind me, just as a great place to go back to whenever you need one of them. Yeah.
Definitely. And places like Pinterest are really great as well. They have loads and loads of beautifully decorated kind of positive affirmations that you can use off there as well. So do have a look at Pinterest, because that is always full of a lot of interesting things. You can spend hours on Pinterest. So the next one I'm going to talk to you about is creating. So sometimes the actual kind of physical kind of act of creating something or crafting something can really give us a really helpful outlet for kind of, I don't know, kind of channeling how we feel into a project. So it can be a good way to kind of capture a mood or to capture an emotion, but sometimes it can just give us that space that we need while our hands are busy doing something, that our mind can just kind of, I don't know, just kind of take that breath and kind of have that space to think about things. So this can be as flamboyant or as kind of subtle as you like. So for some of you, you're going to be proper crafting kind of geniuses and you're going to love that. And for the others of you, you might struggle more on this one or think that's something that it's not really your thing. But something that could be really helpful is to do something like some knotting. So Robson, knotting is big right now, isn't it?
It is, apparently. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, people are loving knotting. So you can go on YouTube, you can follow some really basic kind of lessons around knotting. So all you need is some string and like macrame, which you can like, you know, make plant hangers and things like that. For me, I love crafting. I'm one of those annoying people that's always making things. This is something that I made actually during lockdown, and I just made it out of scrunched up balls of newspaper and masking tape until I formed it into the shape that I wanted. And then I just painted it. And it was kind of, you know, when we were all stuck inside, it was just that kind of feeling of wanting to escape and wanting to be free. And so I made a flying swallow, and I love swallows. Or like something else that this is something I did a while back, just getting, you know, those little paint swatches that you can get from like B&Q. I mean, B&Q is seriously going to be after me after doing this YouTube, because you never know, people might just flock to their nearest hardware store and nick all the paint samples. But actually I did, over a period of time, I kind of collected these and then created this kind of circle kind of wreath, which I I love doing things like this, and I love doing things in a round. I find that a really satisfying kind of feeling to be able to collage or create things in a circle. So there's loads of different ways that you can do this, and you know, what's going to work for you is going to be completely personal to you. But there's just a few ideas, but actually something crafty, something that you can create can just give you that space to be able to just think about what's going on and plan your next move.
And brilliantly, coming back to the idea of collage, so coming back to those fans of collage or people who haven't tried it yet but think it could be useful, here's a different way that we can begin to build up a collage. And some people call this junk journaling, and it's a great way to just piece together parts of your day. So you might keep hold of certain things that have happened throughout your day and just take them and add them to a page. And you can use it as a chance to just reflect on that day, how it felt, how it was, you know, like what things happened. You could add some words or some ideas to it. I have an example just here of this, and it's a great way to just begin to kind of think about what's gone on for us. So as you can see here, I built it up with just a receipt. Right at the back of the page is just a receipt of something I bought that day. And then I actually went on to draw the sweater because I thought it was such a cool cardigan that it had to be in drawn form. And you just add up all these little things. And I've added some extra words like content and shine. Just as I was exploring it, I began to realize that those were the feelings that came out of that day. And by doing that, you've pieced together without really having to get collage equipment, without really having to like go out and find things that reflect how you feel. You've just pieced together a bit of that day and being able to give yourself a place to explore it. And that's a great different way that we can collage.
I love that. And a few years ago, I saw a kind of really good example of like junk journaling where somebody, they took off their eye makeup every night on a makeup wipe, and then they saved all 7 and put it in like a junk journal and wrote a couple of words of each day, what their day had been like. But it was like something that they could record at the same time every day. It's just a really interesting way of doing it. So I love that idea of kind of just piecing bits together. And just anything from anywhere you've been, the things you've had to eat, all those sorts of things. So I love it. Right, we are zooming through this now. I hope you're still with us and still enjoying this. So another way to journal, which actually some people do find really useful, is almost to be led. So to have kind of a kind of written journal that contains loads and loads of activities. So you can just dive into it and the material's already there and you can just kind of start writing or start answering questions. So one of them that we produce is the Headstrong Journal. So you can pick up a copy of this for $12.99 from the Youthscape store. And I'll put up some details around that on our socials as well after this. But it's a really good journal because it takes you on a real journey just to kind of think about different areas of your well-being, think about the way you respond to things or what you do when you're angry or how you cheer yourself up on days when you're feeling really low. It's all those things and all those activities are there. So there's absolutely loads of journals around, aren't there? So the Headstrong Journal, obviously we recommend because we worked on that and we're really proud of it. Another one that I've got a picture on the screen there is the Positive Planner. And again, you can get that all over the place. I think it's about £20 or something, isn't it, Robson? It's about that, I think.
Yeah. About that.
You've seen one of these, haven't you? You've actually used the Positive Planner. How did you get on with it?
Yeah, I find it quite good because it's a bit led. It kind of has maybe some question spaces or some spaces that are just about tracking, maybe a bit about your mood, but also about like how much water you've had, how you've slept, things like that are also just helping you track what's going on in your day, which actually can sometimes be really important for when, like Laura said at the start, when we're looking back on what's happened. If we realize actually I didn't sleep well that week and I felt really bad, that can be big, important lessons for us to learn, can't it, sometimes? So that can be great for that, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And just sometimes it takes away that fear of the blank page as well, doesn't it? Just having that kind of activity that's already set for you for your day. But so I would kind of look into that as well if that's something you've not tried before.
Yeah. And one of the next things is to get poetic. So I love using poetry or go into poetry or reading it, trying to write it, whatever it is, because I think poetry is a great chance to just express something without it having to be just trying to write, because I struggle with blank pages too. I don't have to write like how I feel. I don't have to write about my day. I'm just given the space to put whatever words down I think are right in that specific moment. And it's okay if they're wrong later, or if they don't rhyme later, like none of that matters. It's just about getting ideas on the page. So we've got a couple of different ways to get poetic. And the first one could just be to try and write something. So this is my poetry diary, and it's just maybe writing something. But we've also think that sometimes getting poetic can mean so much more. So Laura talked earlier about songs and music and lyrics, and partly that means that some of the poetry is already done for us, because lyrics are such a great expressive part of poetry. And so sometimes we could use those as a starting point. So one example I've done here is I've used an example of just one verse of a song, and I've just kind of gone through it, added my own words, changed words, maybe highlighted parts that really resonated with how I felt that day. And in doing that, I've pieced together my own poem again. And so it's kind of like that blackout poetry, but in a different way with this song instead. And I've taken that song that expressed how I felt and made it my own a little bit and got poetic in that way. Another way could be to use a bit of an image, and using an image as a prompt. So we talked about maybe capturing images, collage in how we feel, using colors. You could look at one of those that represents our emotion and begin to write about it. And so here I've written a poem just about this little drawing of a window, and just how it made me feel. And that was my prompt. But equally, it could be a picture from our day that we've kind of captured, and then we write a poem about it. And that can be such a good way to reflect how we feel, and such a deep way to begin to engage in our emotions or our thoughts a little bit more. Yeah, what do you think about that, Laura?
Definitely. And I love the use of like the idea of using lyrics, because I think so much of the time we've got those songs, haven't we, that just really resonate with us, that sort of capture how we feel. And sometimes where we might not feel that we could write that. I know that if I start writing lyrics or poetry, I get so caught up with whether things rhyme or not that it just falls apart and then makes no sense. But actually, by using somebody else's words can be really helpful. And am I right in thinking that the lyrics that you used there were a Taylor Swift song?
Yes, you are right in thinking that they were a Taylor Swift song.
Excellent.
Brilliant.
Which I just love that. Wonderful. So I hope you found that really helpful. And so that's given you 14 different things that you can try over Easter, or whenever, if you want to give journaling a go again. And I think we really want to encourage you that if there's something that you've tried and you've just thought, no, do you know what, it's not for me, that maybe it's worthwhile giving it another go and just finding a different way to kind of look at it. So I do hope that there's been some things that have really stood out to you today that you go, do you know what, actually, I think I will give that a go because I've not tried that before. So I really hope you've enjoyed that. Just to say before we head off that, you can find us on lots of different platforms. So I really encourage you to follow Headstrong, particularly because we're on lots and lots of different platforms. Instagram and TikTok, you can find us on Be Headstrong UK. Obviously, we're on the YouTube, so do please follow us on here. That would be really, really great. And our website is beheadstrong.uk, and that has loads and loads of different articles and videos and tips and lots of ideas around looking after your mental well-being. And if you'd like to find out more about the work of Illumina, which is our kind of online support work around self-harm, then you can visit that at selfharm.co.uk, and you'll find the information then to kind of talk to Robson maybe and send him an email, and he can kind of link you up a bit more with that. So we really hope that you have found it really helpful today. It's been great to have you here, and we love doing these, don't we, Robson? It's great.
It's amazing. And it's great to see that Gillian said that it's been awesome and they're definitely going to try out some blackout poetry. That's amazing.
I have to admit, I've never tried that, but you said you're selling it well, so I definitely would like to have a go at that. We'll be posting lots and lots of ideas kind of from this session on our socials, if you want to pop on there and kind of go back and revisit anything. But have an amazing Easter, everybody, and have a really good time and happy journaling, really. And we will see you again next month, hopefully, for a next Headstrong live stream.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye, folks.
Take care. Bye.